So I'm with Rosalind Studd, who is the co-founder of RWYW. So welcome, Ros. Thank you very much for joining us. So kind of firstly, I wanted to ask if you could just tell us a little bit more about Repair What You Wear. So how it kind of came to be, how it started, and your kind of inspiration for starting it.
Thanks for asking us to be involved. It's great. So I work with one other person, a graphic designer called Ellie, who was originally from Iran and grew up in a culture where clothing was valued. And I myself studied textiles and I was a retail buyer. I worked for a lot of big names and I exported product too. So I lived in Portugal and Italy and developed and exported product from there. I gave up the commercial side and went into charity retailing after I realized how the impact of the global economy really on small suppliers. And I felt very uncomfortable about the growth in a direction of lowest price for highest margin. Repair What You Wear came about because I was mending some of my children's clothing and I realized how much money I saved. And I'd worked with enough people then to know that mending skills were largely lost in society. And I was reflecting on the economic impact of that and also the environmental cost of that, because clothes that get thrown for the want of a button, and it's estimated 60% of people don't know how to sew on a button, means that it increases landfill. So alongside teaching and that sort of thing, I started looking at setting up Repair What You Wear, just providing a free teaching resource, that's all, and hoping that it would be a pebble in the pond so that my skills and knowledge would pass down intergenerationally and people could take it exactly where they wanted. There's no ownership on skills. We should all have them. They should be taught as life skills.
Yeah. And what, I mean, in terms of introducing or using education as a tool, what's kind of the barriers, if there are any, or that you found over time in, introducing sustainability into different curriculum and that's kind of side of things?
It's very, very hard, particularly because COVID has made teaching difficult. So it isn't great that COVID is here. The main thing is the change of attitude. It's very difficult to take something like clothing awareness and incorporating mending skills away from being an arts subject. We really all need core skills. We know what we eat by and large, and we need to know what we wear so that we can make informed choices about it. And you do not have to be an artist. Some of the best menders I've met have been Army, Merchant Navy guys, and ex-prisoners, because it's taught. And it's taught simply as a function. Some people get really into sewing and take it further as a creative act, but that's not the majority of the population. And in an ideal world, we'd have the majority of the population simply knowing core mending skills.
And do you think, how can we, I know obviously you said there's specific groups that you found that are great at kind of mending, repairing. I know that in terms of, so for me, myself, it's often time. And I think, we have such busy schedules in our lives. And I wonder how, in terms of making it more of a social change, how you found that can come to be and integrating it more kind of into our daily lives, mending and repairing.
There's a couple of things. One is, it is really difficult unless you're disciplined about it. And what you really need to do is have the skills and have your needle and thread in a drawer, because that's really all you need. And you fix it then and there, but you've got to have the confidence to do that. And the confidence grows with practice. If you squirrel things away in a cupboard for that day, you'll never need to wear them again because you've stopped needing them, and then there'll be landfill. So my best mends are when I'm going to put something on and I realize it's got a problem. Like I told you just now, I was going to wear orange, which is a color I love. And I put my jumper on, it had a hole in it, but I was a bit late for this interview, so I couldn't mend it. But it would have taken me under 5 minutes to mend that. And I don't need orange thread. I can just use any thread just to bind it together. That's where mending wins, really. Now, if you are somebody who wants to also generate a community through it, then that's very effective, because people bring things, they socialize, you share knowledge, and that fills your serotonin bank, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're finding that more and more.
Really good.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you mentioned that you come from obviously more of kind of or you have experience in the commercial side. So I mean, there's a lot of change going on in the fashion industry, and there's a lot more awareness around kind of mending, repairing, and more sustainable fashion. But do you think that in terms of on the larger scale, the fashion industry is ready for the kind of change that's needed and is embracing the change that's needed, or is it something that's, still very much taking its time to develop?
It's very complex, isn't it? Because essentially we're overproducing and over-consuming. And the capitalist system, if one's going to, the system is you increase sales constantly. And if you're not increasing sales, you're increasing margins. So businesses have got to reevaluate where their long-term interests lie. If the consumer is wanting to have more sustainable products with traceability, and know that the people who made it are paid well, and they're going to buy less and get it to last longer, then it requires the industry to rethink itself completely. Some new emerging businesses are already built on those priorities. And there's a misconception, really, that it's going to only be for the rich. If you buy something and make it last a long time, that is good for the planet, full stop, because 70% of the carbon emissions are in the making of the garment. However, there's a lot of greenwashing right now. And there's a lot of people who have sustainable departments within their organizations, but haven't integrated sustainable practices all the way down. So they're sponsoring and promoting small things like mending workshops in their shops. But if you look at what they're selling, many high street big names are still not following a sustainable fashion pattern. You are, in fact.
Yeah.
I think individuals can learn core skills, very simple stuff that with confidence they can mend the majority of their clothing. Then they can use repair professionals and pay them to mend, because the companies really need to concentrate on their production, because they need to be able to reassure us that the way in which they produce is ethical, is climate friendly, and that their garments are going to last. And that's what I would like them to put their time and resources. There's a very large retailer we know who is sponsoring London Recycling Week this week. They're a massive high turnover company, and they don't have a great track record. They are running mending workshops, and they've sponsored London Recycling Week. So that really is greenwashing. That really is greenwashing. And we're two people. They don't give a toss about us. Why would they? But money talks, and people like us, we don't have the money to fight the big boys. The consumers have to show that they will not buy if they don't approve of the ethics. Businesses have never changed unless consumer demand it. So I think rise up the consumers.
Yeah, And I know, well, obviously Repair What You Wear is, as you said, a small initiative. And, you know, I know you mentioned community, working together as communities before on that kind of community sense. So do you think that eventually those sorts of changes on a community level can make a difference? I know you said, again, you think it's consumer led. So I guess as we pull together at the kind of on the smaller scale, we can have more of an impact on the bigger scale.
That's what I think. Yeah, I think you've got it right.
Yeah.
You have to spread a word. Change happens very slowly, but the more people who embrace things, who talk about things, we've got on our website under education a PowerPoint which has all the facts about fashion's influence on climate change in one place. So people can get ginned up and know what they're talking about. And things like knowing your fibers, knowing what your clothes are made of can help you determine better buying and can help you determine whether it's going to last. Or if you're buying pre-loved, buy better pre-loved through that knowledge. So I would always encourage that. And then gradually the ripples should go out. Community activity, community repair, selling pre-loved clothes, talking, that all brings around change. We've got a long way to go because marketing budgets of these big companies are huge and they don't want to lose their share. They also provide payment systems that encourage increased purchases. So I think people need a complete about turn in the way they think. But the more people that do that, the more powerful the influence.
And I know we mentioned fibers and obviously materials and kind of knowing what you're buying. And I think for me, that's something I find really hard is knowing if I've bought something that is going to last. Like I had a jumper the other day and I put it on and there's like a massive hole in it here. But I know I bought it from, I don't know, Zara maybe a few years ago and it has lasted. But I think the material isn't great. And I don't know if it will be that easy to repair. So how can, if you're starting out, I guess, on that road to kind of repairing and mending, what sorts of materials kind of should you be looking out for when you're buying things?
Sustainable materials are complicated because no fiber except branded lyocell, which is in a completely circular system, is environmentally friendly. But you have to choose function and how long you're going to wear it. If you're buying pre-loved, that is a really good thing anyway. We have to remember that all synthetics are oil-based and they're plastics and they don't ever biodegrade. So if you are wanting something for going out into the mountains, for instance, or wearing on a wet day, a jacket, synthetic is best, but you need to make it last. You need to buy something that is not a passing phase in synthetic. Wool keeps you warm, really warm. And that's something people haven't got used to because it's been mixed or taken over completely by synthetics like acrylic, polyester. They don't keep you warm. They don't wear very well. They stretch, they don't recover, and they don't last as long. So they will end up in landfill much sooner. Cotton is super hungry in water. There are new organic or better grown cotton qualities coming, fibers coming through. There's also slavery associated with cotton. 25% of cotton production is linked to the Wranghan slavery. So it's so complicated. But if you buy well, as in buy something you really, really want and wear it for a long time and look for organic or some such more an origin that can give you more confidence, then you've done as best a job as you can. And if you want to know about fibers, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
If anybody wants to know about fibers, if they go on our education resource section, then down at the bottom, there's videos on fibers and fabric constructions. So you can learn quite a lot from that. And if you feel the cloth and pull at the seam, that'll give you a good idea. Nice solidish cloth. And if it doesn't start to grin, that means the fibers separate at the seam.
You know, it's good quality.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
It's interesting. And again, I mean, with prices as well, is it reflective of the quality? You know, I know you said earlier in the interview that sometimes people think, you know, buying quality means paying so much more. Do you think that's true, or is
no?
That's
no.
interesting.
There's a balance. If you go to a shop and they manufacture in high cost places, high manual cost places, the goods might cost more, but you know that the people are being paid well. And then if you feel the fabric and it feels good quality, by paying a little bit more, you may be buying a garment that's going to get many more wears. So you can do a sort of cost per wear analysis. The margins on fast fashion are far bigger than you think. Everything can be amortized out so that there are some things that they have low margins on, something that has high margins on. But you couldn't afford to run businesses in the old days with 50% markdowns unless your profit was considerably more than that. So although the prices have gone down in fast fashion, which has driven volume, the margins have gone down faster.
Yeah, it's so, honestly, it's such a complicated area just as a consumer, because obviously when you don't know the kind of background, you do think, where do I start, and what knowledge do I need to have in order to like be a more kind of conscious consumer. But yeah, I mean, I myself, so I can sew on a button. I haven't done so for a while. But I think, again, people who are coming to Repair What You Wear as a platform, or where it's being utilised in curriculum, is there any kind of, you know, pointers or areas that you'd send people to start? You know, where you can begin, on your mending journey, or
you go to our core skills. It's not a very sexy name, let's call it survival skills. If you learn to thread a needle in a nice, confident way, and we show the better way, and then never knot your thread, because when you knot, it could go straight out again and you start to lose confidence already. So we teach you to start, and then you can do back stitch and sew on a button, herringbone, which is hems, which is like a cross stitch, and then a ladder stitch, which you sew together seams where you can't access in any other way. It's great for coats. We can't prove it, but I reckon that you can mend 80% of your clothing with those things.
Really?
Now, there are different techniques for using, but by then you've acquired the skills. And if I'm teaching a group of 6 people, I can get them through that confidently within an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. And they can lead with instructions as well, which we can give left and right handed. And with practice, they'll be able to achieve.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, it's incredibly accessible, really, and not so time consuming as obviously many people think, and kind of skills heavy, I suppose. That's good for me to know, because my sewing skills definitely need some revamping. And I just wondered, kind of with the benefit of your experience, so what have you learned en route to kind of where you are today with Repair What You Wear, and with other things you've been involved with? Is there anything that really stands out and you think would help other people who want to go on a similar path, or just any kind of inspiration to kind of leave us with?
Encourage people to skill up, even if they're not arty. So, and you can work with them or praise them for whatever they achieve. That teaching others is hugely satisfying. So if you are able to teach, get on board and do that. And generally don't repair for people without teaching them at the same time, because all you're doing is disempowering them. And they'll go, oh no, I haven't got the confidence to do that. And you can show them and then say, have a go, because no one ever has confidence without trying something.
That's true. Practicing, doing this over and over again, and knowing that you are totally capable as well. I think that's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And if you really want to look back. I can't do the carbon, the kilos of carbon saved. It's a bit complicated, and sometimes it seems a bit little, so that's not good. But money saved is massive. I reckon that by mending our family's clothes, we save £400 a year.
That's what resonates with people. You're right. I think that definitely resonates with people when they can turn it into something that's more tangible and that they understand is going to be a benefit, and knowing that it's not that time consuming. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Thank you. So yeah, we'll say thank you to Ros and let her go.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.